of a day-long protest. We had that part for you live yesterday on Mornings on 2. Ali Rasmus there again with a look at still an active scene behind you, Ali.
Yeah, law enforcement agents expect to be out here for the next several hours investigating this shooting that happened late last night. Right now, where we are is Oakland's Embarcadero and Livingston, and the entire block behind us is closed off for all the law enforcement and police investigators. You can look onto Coast Guard Island Bridge, which is just about a block away from us, and you can see it is lit up. Some of the equipment that investigators have been using still in place there, and they're collecting and gathering evidence as they have been throughout the morning and the overnight hours. They're investigating a shooting that happened here just after 10 o'clock last night. Law enforcement officers who'd been in position on the Coast Guard Island Bridge for most of the day opened fire on a U-Haul truck that started backing up into the entrance of the bridge. A KTVU photographer was filming as the incident unfolded. There was about 10 seconds of gunfire followed by some yelling. A law enforcement source confirms to KTVU that 2 people were struck by the bullets, the driver of that U-Haul and a second person not in the vehicle. And we don't know the extent of their injuries or the conditions, but about 12 to 14 hours before that shooting happened, the entrance to Coast Guard Island was the scene of a demonstration to protest the planned deployment of federal agents conducting immigration operations before the president called that off. A witness who was interviewed by police say the man driving that U-Haul, he says, was not part of the protest earlier in the day and had only arrived on the scene about an hour before.
He did not interact with the protesters. He did not interact with the rest of us. He barely got outside of the U-Haul. Eventually, he broke through the barrier that we had out. He drove through the barrier that we had out in reverse and then reversed towards the Coast Guard. They stacked up, they drew, they threatened to shoot him if he went any further. He burned rubber right back at him.
And that's when the shooting occurred. But by the time it had happened, most of the protest crowd had already left. There were only a handful of people still in that crosswalk leading up to the bridge following the protests, that much more active and mostly peaceful protests that had happened earlier in the day. A source confirms that the Coast Guard police are the ones who fired their weapons, but the FBI is the lead agency investigating what led up to the shooting. And just in the last hour, we've also seen back out here live, you can see some FBI agents now walking to the scene. There's some tents set up where a lot of investigators are doing their work. The California Highway Patrol is in charge here of closing off the streets. Alameda Police and Oakland Police were earlier in the overnight hours involved in closing off some of this street, but no longer. Live in Oakland, Ali Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Ali, thank you. Across the Bay here, protesters also gathered in San Francisco in response to reports of increased immigration enforcement. Video here from Citizen App shows a group of people marching down Market Street. The march started at Embarcadero Plaza, where one woman told us even without mass arrests, she and others needed to make their voices heard.
It's all the more important that we stay in the streets and that we stay activated, because really I think an organized community is the reason that Daniel Lurie felt pressured to make that call and why Donald Trump did back down in the first place.
Faith, labor, and community leaders released a joint statement signed by more than 150 organizations rejecting the manufactured chaos, pain, and damage this invasion threatens to unleash on the Bay Area. Dozens also rallied in front of San Jose City Hall last night to show their support for the South Bay's immigrant communities. Organizers say despite yesterday's announcement from the president and San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie that National Guards are not coming to that city, they're still worried.
Our time now 7:06. While President Trump says he called off plans to send a surge of federal troops to San Francisco, it's still not clear if that includes increased immigration enforcement. The president announced that yesterday morning as the first federal troops were arriving at Coast Guard Island in Oakland. The president says San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie convinced him to hold off on the planned surge, at least for now.
I told him the same thing that I have told our residents. San Francisco is on the rise. But having the military and militarized immigration enforcement in our city will hinder our recovery.
Now, President Trump says Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff and NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang also helped to convince him to back off on his planned surge in San Francisco.
Trump is comfortable with billionaires. He likes billionaires, and most likely it's the CEOs of these companies, these two billionaires, called him up and said, please do us a favor. And he says, okay. And now I'm going to want a favor from you at some point.
Now, Governor Gavin Newsom warns the people of California be wary of President Trump's decision to call off those federal troops in San Francisco. He says the president often changes his mind on important issues.
New this morning, a new poll finds President Trump's approval rating among Hispanic voters has dropped since the beginning of the year. The AP survey conducted earlier this month found 35% of Hispanic voters have a favorable view of President Trump. That's down from 44% from a poll taken just before he was sworn into office for his second term in January. The survey finds many Hispanic voters say they think President Trump has not followed through on his promise to improve the U.S. economy.
Well, today, thousands of federal employees are due to miss another paycheck with no end in sight in the government shutdown. The latest efforts to pay government workers who were working during the shutdown failed to pass. Senate Republicans were able to win over a few of Democrats in the Republicans' latest federal spending plan, but they were not enough votes to start sending out paychecks to essential federal workers. This 25-day standoff is raising a wide range of major concerns, including a warning there could be a critical shortage of air traffic controllers.
I have young air traffic controller students who are now telling me, what the hell am I doing? Why am I going to take this job? They're thinking about leaving the academy, smart young men and women, because they don't want to work for a system that won't pay them.
Democrats are saying they oppose the latest Republican measure because it would give President Trump too much power to pick and choose which federal employees will get a paycheck. Now, despite the government shutdown, Muir Woods here in the Bay Area is reopening for at least the next week. The National Monument in Marin County closed when the government shutdown began at the beginning of October. But the Chronicle is reporting a group of people, including a San Francisco tour operator, launched a donation drive calling other park vendors and raised enough money to reopen the park through October. Now, it costs about $4,600 a day. The group plans to try to find even more vendors to keep Muir Woods open if the government shutdown continues.
Happening today, thousands of Starbucks workers across the country will vote on whether to go on strike next week. The strike authorization vote will continue for the next several days. It involves some 12,000 Starbucks workers at more than 650 stores. The union representing Starbucks baristas is currently locked in a contract dispute with the management of the giant coffee chain. The union workers are demanding better pay and benefits. Starbucks says it's willing to negotiate.
It's 7:10. The good news is they cleared the crash off the Bay Bridge. The bad news is the backup remains. Even the carpool lanes are slow. When you see that, you know it got pretty bad on the bridge. They had to slow even the carpool lanes from getting on. And it's going to take a while for this to unwind. Again, all the lanes are open, but it's going to take a while. Maybe on a Friday it'll clear out faster, but right now it's still pretty slow. Eastbound 80 near Gilman, there's been a stalled vehicle that has not been able to be moved for a while. And we have a big backup on eastbound 80 out of Berkeley trying to get over to the 580 interchange. I know a lot of people use that to get over to the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge. And you look at Highway 4, it's slow from Railroad over to Willow Pass, but the rest of the commute looks good. South Bay commute looks pretty decent right now in the Silicon Valley. Not a lot going on there. 7-11, let's go back to the desk.
Sal, thank you. Well, tonight, the first game of the World Series begins. The Toronto Blue Jays will host the LA Dodgers, and we want to look live at Rogers Center in Toronto. A lot going on the field. The preparations are underway as the Blue Jays are returning to baseball's biggest stage for the first time in more than 30 years. Now, Los Angeles enters this World Series as the favorite. They'll be trying to win back-to-back titles. However, the Dodgers will be without their pitcher, Alex Vesia. Team officials say he won't play tonight. He has to deal with a personal family matter. Now, KTVU and Fox will show you every pitch of the World Series. The pregame coverage here on KTVU begins at 3 p.m. with Fox coverage beginning at 4 and the first pitch at 5. All the news and weather can be seen over on KTVU Plus. Our time is now 7:12. Alaska Airlines flying again this morning. We'll talk about the problem that caused the airline to ground its entire fleet. Plus,
because they've been targeted, because they are Latino, because they are brown.
We hear from two people at the very center of the immigration debate that often don't make their voices heard. How two women who are undocumented and living in the Bay Area say they and their families are coping with the threat of detainment as they go about their daily lives.
Jacoby and Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby and Myers, we know the stakes: your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Amid all the protests, legal action, and threats over federal immigration enforcement, the voices of those at the very center of the issue are not often heard. Well, this morning, two women who are undocumented and living in the Bay Area are describing their state of mind amid the risk of detainment and deportation. KTV's Andre Sr. live in studio with their story.
Well, Garcia, one is from Mexico, the other from El Salvador. Each are mothers of three. They work separately as housekeepers, volunteer at their local churches, and work with groups providing support to other immigrants. They say yesterday people they knew said they were afraid to take their kids to school or protecting their identities given their heightened concerns over federal immigration enforcement. The worry brings one of them to tears thinking of her children and grandchildren.
Mucho miedo. Mucho miedo que tengo. I'm so afraid. And I'm trying to tell people don't be scared but it's so difficult when I'm feeling scared.
The frustration, I'm angry not to be able to live happy. We cannot go outside because we are afraid that they are gonna go after us, so they're gonna get us. It's horrible.
One of the women came to the U.S. to be with her parents, but says her mom recently self-deported back to El Salvador. She fears for her children's future, even though they are U.S. citizens.
Because they've been targeted, because they are Latino, because they are brown.
What do they tell you?
They are scared. They ask me if I go to work this morning, and I say yes.
It's not fair that they treat us like that.
We need to be informed. We're not illegal people. We're not destroying this country. We're doing a great job.
Oakland Unified School District officials joined the Oakland mayor and other leaders to reiterate to parents they are not alone. The interim superintendent says Oakland Unified School District remains a sanctuary district. Immigration enforcement is not allowed on any campus without a warrant that's been reviewed by the district's legal team.
Let's be clear. We do not need outside troops or agents coming into our city to intimidate, bully, or separate our families.
Well, the two women say organizations are helping them to know their rights, but they're skeptical of President Trump's recent announcement saying there will be a pause on immigration enforcement in San Francisco. They hope more people will continue supporting their efforts with peaceful protests, and they tell us they keep praying for peace. Now, DHS has said with this heightened enforcement, it's only targeting undocumented immigrants with criminal records, the worst of the worst. Dave?
All right, Andre, thank you. Time now 7:19. Flights on Alaska Airlines in the air again after an IT outage last night grounded flights for hours. The ground stop ended about 11:30 last night. Before those technical problems were fixed, more than 200 flights were canceled, hundreds more were delayed, and this morning there are still some residual delays. Alaska Airlines says if you do have a flight today, just double check your app before you head out to the airport.
All right. Speaking of heading out, let's see what's happening on the road. Sal Castaneda monitoring traffic.
All right, and right now we do have a big backup at the Bay Bridge. Let's go right to it because we had a crash on the bridge. Now, it caused a lot of slow traffic, and it is so slow that even the metering lights or even the carpool lanes are slow, and that's when you know, my goodness, it's a lot slower than usual. This guy said, forget it. And he got off the bridge and said, I'm going back. So you might be a little bit frustrated this morning if the Bay Bridge is your commute. In case you want to think about doing something else, the Richmond Bridge is okay, but there is a trouble getting there. There's a stalled truck East 80 at Gilman. It's been there for at least an hour, and traffic is slow on the East Shore Freeway. If you're going, let's say, to the South Bay, this morning the commute there is okay. The Dumbarton and the San Mateo Bridge are much better than the Bay Bridge, by the way, in case you have the luxury of crossing those places instead. 7:20. Let's bring Steve back with today's weather.
I can relate to that guy, Sal, saying,
yeah,
I'm out of here.
Forget it.
All right, sunshine to rain. Well, it was sunshine yesterday. It'll be rain tomorrow, but we are looking for a lot of low clouds this morning, and we'll get some sun, but higher clouds are already moving in. That'll lead to rain Saturday morning. I think we get a break Saturday night, Sunday morning, then the next system looks to come through Sunday afternoon. South may not be much at all. North, I'm leaning on a little heavier than what some are saying, but by far and away, Santa Rosa, probably, Yountville North looks to be the line for the heaviest. Although, again, sometimes these systems overachieve, so we'll keep that in mind. There's a lot of moisture there, but most of it is heading north of us. 40s for a few, 50s for most, with a lot of low clouds in place. 40s in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and 46 SoCal, Scotts Valley's in there. Then a lot of mid-50s around Santa Clara, Cupertino, Campbell. Low 50s in Hollister, and Santa Cruz and Aptos are both at 51 degrees. 28 bookends, Truckee, South Lake Tahoe. 30s for Reno, Carson City, and Minden. And the leading edge of the higher clouds are already moving into Mendocino County, Lake County, and probably Sonoma as well. So they're on their way pretty fast. So any sun today I don't think will last too long unless you're south. Combination of low clouds, and then that'll lead to some rain tomorrow morning, especially north. about San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge, San Pablo Bay North looks to be the main focus here. A lot of moisture, though, streaming across. That'll play into our weather through at least Sunday night, maybe early Monday, and then it looks like it kicks out. But heavier amounts north, also Sacramento Valley, and in the mother lode, hardly anything south. When the weather is fine, it'll be fine today, but not great. Morning low clouds, lows 40s, 50s, and then we'll get increasing clouds throughout the day, 60s, 70s on the temps. A cloudy to mostly cloudy weekend, some off and on rain, cool temps, but a rebound early next week.
Steve, thank you. Warriors played their home opener, and while no one likes to be told to work overtime, it was no problem for Stephen Curry. We'll take you inside Chase Center to see how he saved the night at the last second.
And just out this morning, some brand new economic numbers for the U.S. will help you make sense of the new inflation report and what it could mean for interest rates.
Welcome back to Mornings on 2. If you haven't been outside yet, just take a look at your screen. This is what's happening as we look out at Santa Clara Valley atop Monument Peak. It is a gorgeous, soft sunrise. We are in for some moderate temperatures. We'll bring in our meteorologist, Steve Paulson, because there are some changes that might affect your plans for a bit of the weekend. He's dialing in those changes. We'll see him again in just a minute. The Warriors are celebrating a thrilling overtime victory over the Denver Nuggets during opening night at San Francisco's Chase Center. Stephen Curry hit a timed three-pointer late in regulation and scored 16 straight points for Golden State down the stretch in the Warriors' 137-131 victory last night. Golden State's big win came despite a career night for San Jose native and Nuggets star Aaron Gordon, who scored 50 points for Denver.
For a championship-type team like they are, a team that has a lot of continuity from year to year, and then you have a guy like that play the way he did, and for us to still win, like, that says a lot about where we're at right now. But it also says we got a lot of work to do to, you know, keep doubling down on just finding a way to win no matter what the situation is.
The Warriors won their first 2 games of the new season. Fans had high hopes during the team's home opener.
I think we're going to make the playoffs. You know, it's going to be electric in the building. You know, we got a great team. I think we're going to make the playoffs. It's going to be good.
We got Kuminga to come back. Let's see if he can prove what he was worth. I think he could do it, so I want to see what Jonathan Kuminga could do. I'm also excited to see Al Horford in a Warriors jersey.
Golden State now goes on the road to face the Trailblazers in Portland tonight. Tip-off is 7 o'clock.
And the Portland Trailblazers, when they host the Warriors, they won't have their head coach with them. Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier have been placed on immediate leave after they were arrested in connection with a huge sports betting and illegal gambling investigation. Attorneys for both Billups and Rozier released statements denying all of the charges. Prosecutors say that Billups and a few other NBA figures used their positions to manipulate betting systems for money that was allegedly funneled to Italian mafia crime families. Time's now 7:27. Target cutting jobs with the holiday season right around the corner. But the company is telling employees about its first major layoffs in a decade.
Do you know if he was struck by a bullet or?
It was a bullet, yeah. I was there. We ran over to help out.
Well, this morning we're hearing from a witness who was there on Coast Guard Island when law enforcement opened fire on an anti-Trump protester. We'll tell you about the moments leading up to that shooting after a day filled with protests. And President Trump says he will not send the National Guard into San Francisco for now. We'll talk about the very powerful, politically connected people who called and persuaded the president to hold off.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Mornings on 2. I'm Dave Clark.
I'm Gaskia Mikhailian. It's a busy Friday, October 24th. Let's get outside. Steve Paulson, there are some changes coming that could affect parts of the weekend.
Well, for sure Saturday morning, I would think, and Sunday evening. But I think the whole weekend won't be a loss, but it'll be a noticeably cooler one with a lot of clouds and some rain. We have a lot of low clouds here today. I mean, there's plenty going around. Almost Kevin Pender there said, Steve, there's fog in every camera that I look at here, out in Pittsburgh, out in San Jose. And I said, all right, we'll just take it. And that's what we're doing here. 50s on the temps here, 40s, 50s, but mainly 50s. Leading edge of the higher cloud band is already knocking on the door, and it'll be here throughout the day. It'll cloud us up tonight, and then rain starts tomorrow morning early, maybe overnight, while you're getting your beauty sleep. Too late for me. But from about Marin County, San Pablo Bay north, I think that'll be the focus we've been talking about all week long, with far less amounts to the south. When the weather is fine, it'll be fine today. Not great, not bad. It'll be fine. Morning low clouds, 40s, 50s, mix of some sun, but boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of low clouds and higher clouds, so a mostly cloudy day with 60s, 70s on the temps. I don't know. Bay Bridge, 80, somewhere else?
Yeah, let's go to the Bay Bridge. 80 has improved a little bit, by the way. They got that stalled truck out of there, apparently. But Bay Bridge getting into San Francisco, still slow. We still have even the carpool lanes slow, and that's because of a problem we had on the bridge. It's been gone for a while, but the traffic was so jammed that it took them a while to unwind it on the bridge. They turned the metering lights on to extra slow. I do want to mention that the San Mateo Bridge is also a little heavier, although not much. I might use that instead. Highway 4 is slow this morning from Railroad all the way over to Willow Pass Road. And then we do have the Dumbarton Bridge and the rest of the South Bay commute looking pretty good for a Friday. 7:33, let's go back to the desk.
All right, Sal, thank you. Well, several law enforcement agencies are at Coast Guard Island right now. It was the scene of a shooting last night at the entrance to Coast Guard Island, where there were anti-Trump protests all day. KTVU's Ali Rasmus out there again today, and you have another update. Good morning, Ali.
Good morning, Dave. Yeah, we're in Oakland's Embarcadero between Livingston and Denison. It is closed off to traffic. You can see behind this crime scene tape, there's a dozen or so law enforcement vehicles out here investigating. Now, side note, there is also a fire truck that just arrived out here about 10 minutes ago. That's because of a fire that happened underneath the Coast Guard Island Bridge. We believe it was connected to some sort of homeless encampment, not related, though, to this investigation that we're about to tell you about. Let's talk about what happened last night. Just after 10 o'clock, law enforcement officers who'd been in position on this bridge after a day-long protest, they ended up opening fire, firing their weapons on a U-Haul truck that started backing up into them in the entrance of Coast Guard Island. Take a look. Now, we know 2 people were hurt, according to a law enforcement source, including the driver of that U-Haul and another second person who was not in the vehicle. Now, about 12 to 14 hours before that happened, the entrance to Coast Guard Island was the scene of a demonstration to protest the planned deployment of federal agents doing immigration operations here, a surge that was eventually called off yesterday morning by President Trump. But by the time the shooting occurred, most of the demonstrators had left. At one point, there was about 250 people, but by 10 o'clock, there was just a handful of people still at the site. And even a law enforcement source here says that that protest was pretty much over when this incident happened. So the FBI, we know, is investigating, the lead investigating agency, looking into what led up to this shooting here on the bridge to Coast Guard Island. And there you see the Oakland fire truck leaving now after that reported fire that happened underneath the bridge this morning. Again, not connected to this investigation. Live in Oakland, Ali Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Ali, thank you. A pause in what has been a contentious back and forth between President Trump and San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie on the issue of immigration. The president called off a large immigration surge in the Bay Area right before it was set to start, following a series of phone calls with the mayor and business leaders in San Francisco. KTVU's Amanda Quintana live here to explain. Amanda.
Yes, well, President Trump had a handful of late-night phone calls on Wednesday that helped convince him to call off this operation here in San Francisco. It was set to start this weekend. A team of federal agents arrived in Alameda at the Coast Guard base there yesterday to carry out this operation, but it was paused before it even began. A federal source told KTVU the agents were supposed to conduct an operation with pre-identified targets, which would have likely included going to Home Depots around the Bay Area looking for undocumented immigrants. We know some of those late-night calls were with San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie and a couple of people who Trump called his friends. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff and AI tech company NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang.
Maybe you heard we were going to do a big surge in San Francisco, but I got a great call from some incredible people, some friends of mine, very successful people. Mark, everybody knows him, and Jensen, everybody knows Jensen, NVIDIA, and others called me from San Francisco, and they said, we're working really, really hard with the mayor, and we're making progress. Would it be possible for you to hold off the surge? And I had 4 or 5 calls, and I think they're making progress of their own. That would be the greatest. I mean, if they could do that, that'd be great. And they have great competence in those people. I mean, incredible competence, some of the smartest business leaders. And they're working very well with the police department. They're doing a good job. So we are holding off that surge, everybody, and we're going to let them see if they can do it.
In every way, it's not surprising because it's so consistent with who Trump is and how broken this man is that it would take business leaders to make the phone calls, not the people that he should be representing. And those that are under deep anxiety and fear that didn't show up to work today because of folks that are assembled in the East Bay.
Governor Newsom and others are skeptical about what this really means. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt spoke directly to San Francisco, saying, quote, failure citizens, the federal government may have to step in. She said the administration will continue to watch San Francisco. Mayor Daniel Lurie was a big contributor in getting the operation paused. He says Trump reached out to him and that in that conversation he spoke to Trump about how the city is doing. He says that people are coming back to work here in San Francisco. A lot of the buildings are being leased here in San Francisco. Crime is down, and just in general, the city is on a rise. Live in San Francisco, Amanda Quintana, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
All right, Amanda, thank you. Time 7:38. Well, Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee says she has not heard from the Trump administration about possible plans for Oakland. Mayor Lee sent a statement here to KTVU saying, quote, I will engage with anyone at any level of government to protect Oakland residents as long as it respects our community's values and constitutional rights. She also says she will continue monitoring the situation closely and stand ready to support our residents through every legal and appropriate means available. Now, Mayor Lee held a news conference along with other elected and public safety leaders yesterday morning and urged the public not to take the bait by committing acts of violence against federal officers.
We know that their expectation is that Oakland is going to do something to cause them to make us the example. That's not what we're doing.
The Oakland Police Department does not participate, assist, or enforce civil immigration matters. Our officers will not ask for anyone's immigration status.
Alameda County law enforcement leaders made a similar statement to Oakland police saying the department would not cooperate with immigration authorities on civil matters.
Later today, East Bay Congresswoman Latifah Simon is hosting a regional conference to discuss the growing impact of the federal government shutdown. The Congresswoman will be joined by mayors of 7 East Bay cities, including Oakland, Berkeley, and Alameda. She says they'll focus on what she calls the refusal of Senate and House Republicans to pass a bipartisan spending bill. The dispute mainly focuses on funding for federal health care programs.
All right, time 7:40. Let's try to get you to where you need to go. There are some problems, but Sal's all over it. What's the latest, Sal?
Well, we do have some improvement on some of the Bay Bridge, or on some of the bridges, including the Bay Bridge. I see the Bay Bridge, at least the carpool lanes are beginning to flow through without any delays. This is unusual for a Friday. This happened because of a crash that happened on the bridge about almost 2 hours ago now. They got the crash off finally, but took some time. But the traffic on the bridge was very slow. They had to turn the metering lights on to slow before they could let all that traffic on the bridge. And it's still recovering. So it's still backed up from the maze to the toll plaza metering lights. Also, the San Mateo Bridge was busy, but it's improving a little bit heading across the bay. Highway 4 is still slow from Railroad to Willow Pass Road, and 680 still has some slow traffic. The San Mateo and Dumbarton Bridge are moderate, and the South Bay commute is just a little lighter than usual on a Friday. 7:41, let's talk about today's weather. Here's Steve.
Sal, thank you. We will start with climate data in San Francisco. Today, we're going 64.56. Average is 69.54. The record, 90 in 1965 and 48 in 1949. But it's the rainfall record. Our producer, Hal, stand by. Take a guess. How much rain do you think fell on this date? In 2020, 4.02. Now that's a wow. The month finished with over 7. December also had over 7. Yet the season, they made up 15 inches of the entire season's about 18 and a half. So October, if you take weather records, check your rainfall in this date on the 21st, or excuse me, on 2020 on this date. That was a big, big day here across the board in the Bay Area on October 24th, 2021. Today, it's fog, sun, and then the weekend, clouds with rain, especially Saturday morning, I think Sunday afternoon, evening. Doing my best to kind of give you a timeline. I think Saturday night's all right, maybe early Sunday, but heaviest rain by far will be to the north. A lot of moisture coming across, 50s on a lot of the temps, some 40s, more to the north though. Nevada's in there, Fairfax in there, Sonoma, Glen, Kenwood 39. I'll have to, well, Middletown's also 39, so I guess with some clearing, yeah. 49, Sebastopol, Occidental in there, Windsor, Healdsburg at 46. So there are a few. 20s, 2 bits there up in Truckee now, South Lake Tahoe at 28. 34 in Reno. Leading edge of the higher clouds are already moving into the north, so the combination of low clouds, and there's a lot, and the higher clouds will give us a mostly cloudy day. Rain starts overnight, early into Saturday morning. East and south, probably not much. It could be a little bit better surge as we go to Sunday afternoon, evening, is the way it looks. But look at that moisture. It goes all the way across the Pacific. So it's, these sometimes models don't handle this well. The majority will be north, no doubt, but we'll get at least our fair share. I think Marin County, San Pablo Bay North, little to not much at all south, though. This is going to be one of those dividing lines. Today, when the weather is fine, and not great, but it's okay. Morning low clouds, a mix of some sun, not much, but increasing high clouds are already on the way. 60s, 70s on the temps, a cloudy to mostly cloudy weekend with off and on rain. Next week, though, looking warmer.
Thank you, Steve. 7:44 here. The Social Security Administration has released details on changes to payments for senior citizens for next year. They'll go up by 2.8% in 2026, averaging about $56 more a month.
So what do you think about it? We want to hear from you. So let's go over to Andre Sr. He's right here with our viewer poll of the day.
Dave Garcia, good morning to you both. I've always been told not to count on it.
I know, that's what I've heard too.
So we're asking, are you counting on Social Security for your retirement? Here are your options. Yes, yes, but not my only plan, and not betting on it. 80% of you say yes, 15% of you say yes, but not my only plan. 5% of you say not betting on it. Go to KTVU.com/vote. Let us know what you think.
I think we go to the same financial person because I'm told, don't count on it.
Yeah.
But if it's there, that'll be nice.
That'll be nice. That'll be a bonus.
Yeah, we've got a couple years to go, I think, before we face that reality. But, people are living it right now.
Exactly.
That's right.
Real thing, yeah.
As we go to break, look one more time at the poll where it is right now. You can scan that QR code in the top right corner of your screen. It'll take you to our poll.
Some of the stories we're following here at 7:47 this morning. The Social Security Administration has released details on changes to payments for seniors next year. As we just mentioned, Social Security payments will increase by 2.8% next year, an average increase of about $56 a month. The cost of living adjustment was supposed to be announced last week, but it was delayed by the government shutdown. The adjustments are meant to keep pace with inflation, so payments for seniors don't become too small. Target is cutting some 1,800 corporate jobs as part of a major restructuring. The move is a direct response to years of sluggish sales. They'll impact about 8% of the staff at headquarters. Target's incoming CEO says the move is designed to simplify operations and accelerate the company's initiatives.
Our time now 7:48 noon this morning. Today, Ukraine's President Zelensky is in the United Kingdom. He'll be meeting with King Charles at Windsor Castle. It's happening ahead of a key summit meeting in London where the UK's Prime Minister will host almost 24 European leaders who've pledged military support for Ukraine. The talks are going to focus on putting more pressure on Russian President Putin and helping Ukraine protect its power grid from the often frequent attacks from Russia. Well, President Trump announced he's ending all trade negotiations with Canada. On social media, President Trump said he made that decision because of a TV ad that's running here in the U.S. from the province of Ontario, opposing tariffs. He says the commercial's aimed at influencing the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on tariffs. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has made no comment on the post by President Trump. The two leaders are expected to see each other at the APEC summit in Asia next week.
A new report on inflation was released just this morning. It appears that Wall Street is betting that the Fed will cut interest rates again.
Well, Pam Cook is back in the studio now. She has some answers in today's dollars and cents. Pam?
Yeah, keeping an eye on these reports. Always important. The Consumer Price Index for September was released this morning. Inflation came in slightly lower than expected for the month. Now, the CPI report was delayed because of the government shutdown and the dismissal of the woman in charge of the numbers. Wall Street is reacting this morning, though, with gains as investors seem to expect that the Federal Reserve is more likely to cut interest rates at its policy meeting next week. However, the annual rate of inflation is still 3%, which is still higher than the Fed's goal of 2%. Now, as we take a look at the opening bell before we get to those numbers, that's Grayscale Investments ringing the bell this morning. It is the first multi-asset crypto fund in the U.S. It's celebrating its listing on the New York Stock Exchange. Right when the bell rang, the Dow surged 200 points. It's doubled that in the last hour, up more than 0.75%, 400 points there. The S&P 500 also up about the same percentage-wise, and the Nasdaq gaining more than 1%. It's up 257 points. Southwest Airlines now offering free in-flight Wi-Fi for more people. The airline says members of its free rewards program can stay connected for the entire flight. The Wi-Fi is powered by T-Mobile and will be available on more than 800 planes by the end of November. The perk does come after Southwest got rid of some other perks. It's 2 free checked bags and will soon end its policy of unassigned seating. That's in the new year. Coca-Cola rolling out a new 12-ounce glass bottle of original Coke. The version is made with cane sugar, not high fructose corn syrup used in the standard formula. There's been an ongoing discussion among nutritionists about the negative health impact of high fructose corn syrup and aspartame, which is often used in sugar-free sodas. I'm Pam Cook. That's Look at Your Dollars and Cents.
Pam, thank you. 7:31. Maybe it's coffee to go this morning, Sal. This has been a tough commute, especially for a Friday.
Yeah, you know, on a Friday, we expect better, honestly. And this morning at the Bay Bridge, it's not because of a crash we had earlier. It is getting better, and we're hoping it will get better soon. But right now, we still have a big backup at the Bay Bridge. Again, this is because of an earlier crash almost 2 hours ago now. The crash is gone, but it was very slow on the bridge. Also, San Mateo Bridge is busy. It's getting busier across the bay. Highway 4 is still slow, so it kind of looks more like a normal commute. Some commutes, though, like the Peninsula commutes, definitely do look lighter. 7:52, let's talk about today's weather. Here's Steve.
Sal, thanks. We have mainly cloudy skies, a lot of low clouds, some fog. Livermore and Santa Rosa are saying some fog, but mainly it's a low cloud deck, so mostly 50s, a couple of 40s, more to the north anywhere else, but a lot of 50s due to that cloud cover. Temperatures, pretty close, just due to the mere fact that we had so much fog. Clayton, though, is at 47, and Pinole has dipped to 45, Blackhawk 49. Then a lot of 50s. Berkeley's 57, Alameda's 57, 56, Lafayette. Same for Orinda, same for El Cerrito. So there's some that are isothermal, that's for sure. 20s up in the mountains, Truckee, South Lake Tahoe. Reno's at 34 degrees. And this is not going to be much in the way of snow for the mountains unless it's above 8,000. Although maybe a little bit lower by the time we get to Sunday as some of the colder air comes in. But low clouds, a little bit of sun. But that cloud deck, already the higher clouds are racing right along. It'll lead to morning rain, Saturday morning to the north, by far and away the most. There could be some pretty good totals about northern Sonoma County up into Mendocino County, maybe Lake County. But farther south, I just don't think so. A lot of moisture, though, streaming across that Pacific. Can't ignore it. We'll see, again, I think another band go through Sunday afternoon, evening. Then after that, I think we're done for a while, till maybe November 6th or so is kind of the way it's looking here. When the weather is fine, morning low clouds, and there's a lot of them. Mix of low clouds and a little bit of sun, but a lot of high clouds are already on the way. 60s, 70s on the temps, and we will see cloudy skies tonight, morning rain on Saturday. Maybe, I think a break Saturday night, early Sunday. Sunday afternoon, more rain. Then next week's looking warmer.
All right, Steve, thank you. Well, time is 7:53. Legendary movie director Francis Ford Coppola claims he's broke after he invested millions of dollars in a movie that flopped. Well, now he's auctioning off some of his prized possessions. And a tense moment for Bay Area immigrant communities, a Mexican-American Grammy-winning artist bringing hope through her music. Up next today, the exclusive interview with Layla Downs about the upcoming Berkeley performance to celebrate Dia de los Muertos. Welcome back to Mornings on 2. Time now 7:57. Governor Newsom was in San Jose to rally the campaign for Prop 50 and to launch a campaign phone bank. The governor was joined by union leaders and Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren. They say Prop 50 is about leveling the playing field to counter the state of Texas and its gerrymandering of congressional districts to favor Republicans.
Prop 50 is our reaction to this authoritarianism that's going on. These attacks, these assaults, this guy's wrecking this country. He's wrecked the economy.
Now, Prop 50 would temporarily redraw California's districts to favor Democrats. Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley of Rockland says Prop 50 could cause a negative cascade of redistricting nationwide.
Just today, it was announced that another state is going to gerrymander even more. Virginia, we're seeing North Carolina, Indiana, Missouri, just as I warned about when this all started, that this redistricting war would cascade across the country, taking in one state after another with terrible consequences for American development.
Critics argue Prop 50 is retaliation by Governor Newsom and that it undermines California's independent redistricting commission. Time at 7:58. Tomorrow is National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. Dozens of Bay Area communities will join those around the country collecting unused or expired prescription drugs. The Drug Enforcement Administration is organizing this public safety event, and the goal, provide a safe, convenient, and responsible way of disposing of prescription drugs. Well, the director of The Godfather, Francis Ford Coppola, is auctioning off his watches after last year's box office flop, Megalopolis. The filmmaker from Napa invested $120 million of his own money into that movie, which only grossed about $14 million worldwide. Coppola is listing 7 of his personal watches in an online auction that begins December 6th. At least one rare watch is valued at $1 million.
Well, gunfire erupts at the same spot where protesters spent the entire day rallying against the planned arrival of federal agents. The new information we're just getting from investigators about the people injured in that shooting. Plus,
They've been targeted because they are Latino. They are scared. They asked me if I go to work this morning.
gripped by fear, 2 undocumented mothers open up about the emotional toll their families are feeling over potential immigration enforcements in the Bay Area. And with nearly all staff furloughed, the Education Department's top leader says schools are fine without Washington, while critics call it a dangerous illusion.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Welcome to Mornings on 2 at 8 o'clock. You look live at the Golden Gate Bridge. We are in for a wet weekend, but it depends on where you live whether or not you will feel some of that drizzle. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andre Sr.
Good morning. I'm Gassia Mikaya. It is a busy one. Friday, October 24th. Let's get into the weather. Steve Paulson's going to help us plan our activities, right?
Oh, gosh, that's a lot of pressure on me. We'll do our best here. Today's not bad. We have a mix looking northward, I believe. Kevin, is this what you're looking up north towards Geyserville and areas northward? Some fog, and you can see some blue in there, but a lot of the higher clouds are already on their way. 40s, 50s on the temps. The city's stuck at 56, normal's 54, but it's just too much low clouds, a few breaks, but the higher clouds are already racing right along. It won't take long for them to start spilling in here. We'll get rain Saturday morning, and it looks like, again, Sunday afternoon, evening. So Saturday night, Sunday morning, you should see a little bit of a break. At least that's the way it looks. So for today, morning low clouds, some sun, but a lot of high clouds are on the way, and we'll go cloudy by late this afternoon tonight into early tomorrow with some rain developing north. 60s, 70s on the temps. All right, Sal's here. Bay Bridge right away or somewhere else, my friend?
Yeah, you know what? Let's go to the Bay Bridge right away. I want to show you that the Bay Bridge has been slow all morning long on a Friday where you wouldn't think it would be, and that's because of a crash that happened hours ago that's been cleared, but it was causing so much slow traffic in that 5 and 6 o'clock hour that it never really recovered. I think that this hour might be the hour where it does recover, but we do have a lot of slow traffic still from before the maze onto the bridge. So if you want to think about using the San Mateo Bridge, that has completely recovered. Some of these mid-bay crossings are doing well. Highway 4 is slow still from Railroad to Willow Pass, but some of these other commutes are getting much better, including the drive between Hayward, Fremont, and San Jose. Now at 8:02, let's get back to the desk.
Straight to a developing story here at the scene of an East Bay protest in support of immigrants and against federal enforcement. A hail of gunfire last night at the entrance to Coast Guard Island, Alameda.
We just learned new details about the two people who were injured in that shooting. KTVU's Allie Erasmus live with a look at the scene right now. Allie?
Well, the FBI continues its investigation of the shooting that happened last night at the entrance to the Coast Guard Island Bridge. And now that the sun is up, it's a little lighter. We've been able to walk on this public path along the Oakland estuary to get a better view of the Coast Guard Island Bridge, where you can see there's about 3 dozen or so investigators, most of them with the FBI, who've been here since the overnight early morning hours, kind of collecting and gathering evidence to pinpoint what led up to this shooting that happened yesterday. Law enforcement officers who'd been on position on the bridge 10 o'clock last night opened fire on a U-Haul truck that was backing up to the entrance of Coast Guard Island. A KTVU photographer was filming while this happened and the incident unfolded. There's about 10 seconds of gunfire followed by yelling. A law enforcement source confirms to KTVU that 2 people were struck by the gunfire, the driver of that U-Haul and then a second person who was not in the vehicle. And we did get some updated information from the Department of Homeland Security. In their statement, they said that the driver of the U-Haul was shot in the stomach and is being treated and held for a mental health condition hold. The second person who was injured, not in that vehicle, was struck by some shrapnel from a bullet. That person was treated and released. Now, about 12 to 14 hours before this happened, the entrance to Coast Guard Island was the scene of a demonstration to protest the planned deployment of federal agents to conduct immigration operations prior to the president calling off that surge of immigration agents. A witness who was interviewed by police say the man driving that U-Haul was not part of the protest earlier in the day and had arrived at the scene just about an hour before.
He did not interact with the protesters. He did not interact with the rest of us. He barely got outside of the U-Haul. Eventually, he broke through the barrier that we had out. He drove through the barrier that we had out in reverse and then reversed towards the Coast Guard. They stacked up, they drew, they threatened to shoot him if he went any further. He burned rubber right back at him.
Now, by the time that shooting occurred, most of the crowd had already left. There were only about a handful of people still at the entrance to Coast Guard Island Bridge. And a source confirms that it was the Coast Guard police who fired their weapons, but the FBI is the lead agency investigating what led up to all of this. Again, you can hear someone on a loudspeaker behind us. There's maybe 5 to a dozen or so people who have come and are kind of jeering at the law enforcement officers and the investigators on the bridge as they conduct their investigation. But some of them actually, there was a larger group here and some of them have actually already left. So in the meantime, the FBI and other investigators plan to be out here for much of the day conducting their work. Live in Oakland, Allie Erasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Allie, thank you. Across the Bay, protesters also gathered in San Francisco in response to the threat of increased immigration enforcement. Video from Citizen App shows a group of people marching down Market Street. This started at Embarcadero Plaza, where one woman told us even without mass arrests, she and others still need to make their voices heard, and that staying active in the fight against federal immigration enforcement is, in part, what caused the president to put his plan on pause. Dozens also rallied in front of San Jose City Hall last night to show their support for the South Bay's immigrant communities. Organizers say despite yesterday's announcement from the president and San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie saying that National Guards are not coming to that city, they are still worried.
While President Trump says he has called off the planned surge of federal troops to San Francisco, it's still not clear if that includes increased immigration enforcement and what it means for the other Bay Area cities. The president announced that yesterday morning as the first federal troops were arriving at Coast Guard Island in Oakland. The president says Mayor Daniel Lurie convinced him to hold off on his planned surge, at least for now.
I told him the same thing that I have told our residents. San Francisco is on the rise, but having the military and militarized immigration enforcement in our city will hinder our recovery.
Maybe you heard we were going to...
Well, the president says Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff and NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang also helped convince him to back off on his planned surge in San Francisco.
Trump is comfortable with billionaires. He likes billionaires, and most likely it's the CEOs of these companies, these two billionaires, called him up and said, please do us a favor. And he says, okay. And now I'm going to want a favor from you at some point.
Governor Newsom is warning Californians to be wary of President Trump's decision to call off the federal troops to San Francisco, saying the president often changes his mind on critical issues.
The government shutdown appears to be furthering the Trump administration's goal of shutting down the federal Department of Education. Education Secretary Linda McMahon said on social media the fact that schools are still operating as normal, that teachers are getting paid, and students are still going to school is proof the Department of Education is unnecessary. About 95% of the department has been furloughed during the shutdown. Nearly 500 employees have been laid off. A judge, though, recently ordered the administration to stop mass firings during the shutdown.
Time now is 8:08. We've had a tough morning on the Bay Bridge. It's affecting the East Shore Freeway, too. On 80, it's backed up out of Richmond all the way out to the Oakland area at the MacArthur Maze. And at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza, still backed up beyond the maze there. This is because of a much earlier crash. It's been gone, but it was there for a while, and it really slowed traffic on the bridge, and now there's a bigger backup. Things are improving, but it's taken a while. San Mateo Bridge is a better bet for you if you want to use that. It's looking pretty good over to the peninsula, by comparison anyway. Highway 4 is still slow. Some commutes are getting much better. The South Bay commute is a little slow in some spots, but it definitely looks Friday light there. 8:09, let's go back to the desk.
Well, President Trump says they'll hold off on widespread federal immigration enforcement in San Francisco. Many Bay Area residents say they are still on edge. In a minute, we talk with the head of a Richmond group working to help people stay informed and protected.
A showdown brewing at Starbucks. The key vote happening today that could trigger thousands of baristas to walk off the job.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes: your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Time now is 8:13. Concerns over federal immigration enforcement impacting local communities, families, and schools. This morning, we're hearing from two Bay Area women who say they live in constant fear due to their undocumented status. One is from Mexico, the other from El Salvador. Each are mothers of three. They both work as house cleaners, volunteer at local churches, and work with groups that provide support to other immigrants. They say people they know are often afraid to take their kids to school while we're protecting their identities given their heightened concerns over federal immigration enforcement.
It's not fair that they treat us like that. We need to be informed. We're not illegal people. We're not destroying this country. We're doing a great job.
One of the women came to the U.S. with her parents, but says her mom recently went back to El Salvador. She fears for her children's future, even though they are U.S. citizens. The interim superintendent of the Oakland Unified School District says it remains a sanctuary district. Immigration enforcement is not allowed on any campus without a warrant. That policy has been reviewed, or has to be reviewed, by the district's legal team.
Even though President Trump says he will now not carry out widespread federal immigration enforcement in San Francisco following a phone call with that city's mayor, many immigrant families are on edge in the Bay Area and beyond. Let's welcome Marisol Cantu, community organizer with Reimagine Richmond. The group is dedicated to a nonviolent life in Richmond, and this is part of that. First, can I have your reaction to the president's words that the immigration enforcement will not happen now?
Yeah, I think there's still quite a bit of concern and panic and chaos because we feel that there is a crisis and a heightened awareness. We have been seeing what's going on in LA and Chicago, and so have been living for the last couple of months with this surge of pending ICE agents coming into the community, masked people, snatching community members without valid warrants, judicial warrants. And so the panic is still very much there. And I think right now it's really important for us to think about how we prepare our immigrant families, how we prepare as neighbors, and how we prepare as the Bay Area.
Do you come to them or do they come to you?
Both. Okay. We've been doing incredible outreach and work with so many incredible beautiful community organizations in the community that serve our immigrant populations, that serve the day laborers at Home Depot, that serve the domestic workers that are housekeeping. We also serve and have just this week went to Contra Costa College and taught all of the different students in the La Raza Students Club about their rights. We've been at Richmond High, and so we're very connected to the community. We also have a community-run rapid response that is completely by Richmond residents, volunteers, both English and Spanish speakers, that are trained Know Your Rights educators, that are legal observers, and care navigators to be able to help immigrant families in case they were detained.
Let's talk about that rapid response. Let's say something's going down at the Home Depot. Does someone call your number? Then who shows up? Kind of walk me through it.
Absolutely. So there's two different ways. One, because of the heightened awareness, we will actually be having people at Home Depot throughout the entire weekend. When they're open, we will be on call. And there's an incredible organization in Richmond, Multicultural Institute, that has been around for decades that works with the jornaleros, the day laborers. And every single day they're out there. Rudy is out there right now helping them. And so they would contact, a jornalero would contact them, and they would also contact us directly through our phone number. We would then make sure that we respond and verify. Right now, there's a lot of misinformation because of social media, live streams, reposts.
What would you like to clear up?
I think that there are many different ways that agents can come into a community, and we've seen the different vehicles, and we've seen white vans and different trucks and Dodges, and yet they're coming in any type of vehicle. And so it's really important to just be alert. We do know that the state of California has a mask ban, and yet Trump administration has said time and time again that they will not abide by that mask. And so if we're looking for people that are suited and have masks, that's what we're really looking out for. But to take photos clear photos of license plates, of cars, of people to then send over to the rapid response line. We've been getting calls, and we realize that it's actually our own police department that are doing checks or sting operations, or it's probation,
which may speak to the level of fear that people are sensing.
Exactly.
I see.
And so it's really confusing. The more misinformation that we're spreading, that it could actually inadvertently target our own law enforcement, our probation, our parole. And so really call the phone numbers, because we have legal observers and we have people with status that can actually just feel very comfortable going up and asking, are you an ICE aide? They may not answer, but we can be able to document and ensure that it's an ICE agent.
Sounds like you're working to bring a measure of calm to what can be a very frenetic situation.
Absolutely.
Right. I know you brought your literature. We have the Red Know Your Rights card. We have, essentially a checklist for parents to fill out for their child in case parents and children are separated. I wish we had more time. We'll have to leave it here. I appreciate your time and the work you're doing in Richmond.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Marisol Cantu. Sal?
All right, Garcia, thank you. Right now we're watching a lot of these commutes get better, finally. Let's go out and take a look at the San Mateo Bridge. I can see traffic is doing pretty well here on that San Mateo Bridge. That might be the solution to the Bay Bridge. It's been slow ever since we had a crash this morning in the 5 o'clock hour. You read it right, 5 o'clock. It took about an hour to clear. Here we are, well into the 8 o'clock hour, and we still have a backup from that, and that has not recovered. I think it's going to recover, but it's going to take a while. So let's talk about the East Shore Freeway. Still slow, by the way, from Richmond all the way down to Oakland. And by the way, there have been some low flight ceilings affecting flights into SFO this morning. You should, if you're expecting someone, they might be a little delayed, or if your flight's coming in or going out, it could affect your flight as well. As we look at the South Bay map, you can see there's moderately heavy traffic in that Santa Clara Valley. 8:19, let's talk about today's weather with Steve.
So my private jet coming into SFO might have a few issues.
Might be delayed,
Might be
Steve.
delayed. Thank you, Sal.
You might have to have an extra cocktail on the
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. All right, sunshine to rain. Yesterday, mostly sunny. I mean, we had low clouds till about noon, then it cleared out. It was a nice day. Today, a lot of low clouds, some sun, but the higher clouds are already on their way. So clouds with rain on Saturday morning is the way it looks. And the system, the much talked about system, is finally arriving. Been talking about this for over a week. 50s on most of the temps here. Leading edge of the higher clouds already up into Mendocino County, Lake County, northern Sonoma already moving in, so it won't take long. And it does look like rain Saturday morning, not today, but Saturday morning, and everything still says most of it will be about San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge, Marin County, San Pablo Bay North. That's the way it looks. But boy, there's a lot of moisture streaming across the Pacific, which will play into our weather through the weekend. The main rain times look to be Saturday morning and Sunday afternoon, evening. In between that, should be some breaks. But overall, if you're south, probably don't have to worry about it. If you're north, and even far north, then you'll definitely have to worry about it, or around the Mother Lode, even up in the Sierra, where it'll be more rain than anything else. When the weather is fine, it'll be fine today. Not great, not bad, it'll be fine. A lot of low clouds, 60s, 70s on the temps. Tomorrow morning, we'll get some rain. I think a break Saturday night, a little bit more rain Sunday afternoon, evening.
Steve, thank you. An overtime thriller at Chase Center, how Stephen Curry pulled off a finish that had Warriors fans walking away as winners in the home opener.
And it's Friday, and if you're looking for some fun weekend plans to get you covered, happening today in Alameda, you can watch Halloween-themed wrestling with live music and food at Alameda Brewing. That show starts at 7 p.m. Tickets start at $20. Tomorrow in San Francisco is the annual Sandcastle Building Contest at Ocean Beach. It runs from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. That's free. Also tomorrow in the city is the Bay Area Science Festival at UCSF Mission Bay campus. It promises fun for the whole family. It is free, starts at 11 a.m. We'll be right back. Time now is 8:24. Netflix got a surprise and a bit of a treat as we get closer to Halloween.
And the latest report on inflation was just released this morning. Pam Cook back in studio to explore what it said in dollars and cents.
Yeah, it's getting credited with quite a rally today. We'll see what happens. The Consumer Price Index for September was released this morning. The inflation report came in slightly lower than expected for the month. The annual rate, though, of inflation is still 3%, which is more than the Fed's goal of 2%. However, as that opening bell rang this morning, it looks like Wall Street is expecting the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates at its meeting next week. Before we get to those numbers, just want to let you know that is Grayscale Investments ringing the opening bell. It's the first multi-asset crypto fund in the U.S. and is celebrating its listing on the New York Stock Exchange. All right, heading over to the numbers. The NASDAQ is up 1.25%, almost 300 points. The S&P 500 now up more than 1 full percentage point. And there's a live look at the Dow. Gained another 100 points in the last hour, now up 516 points, more than 1% for the Dow as well. Thousands of Starbucks workers across the country are voting on whether or not to go on strike next week. The strike authorization vote will continue for the next several days, involving 12,000 Starbucks workers at more than 650 stores. The union representing Starbucks baristas currently locked in a contract dispute with management. The workers are demanding better pay and benefits. Starbucks says it is willing to negotiate. Verizon's launching a new light home internet plan for people in limited coverage areas. The company is promising fast internet speeds for customers who sign up for its new fiber and 5G plans. It's designed to provide reliable internet service for those with limited connectivity options. Verizon's light service can cost as much as $60 a month without any discounts. Netflix animated surprise hit K-pop Demon Hunters has parents scrambling this Halloween. The film's massive unexpected popularity led to a shortage of official Halloween costumes and merchandise. Frantic parents are battling sold-out shelves and heading to online resellers, which are often higher priced and or lower quality. The craft stores may benefit, though, as many people may attempt to make their own costumes this year. I'm Pam Cook. That's a look at your dollars and cents.
Pam, thank you so much. With a so-called surge, federal surge called off in San Francisco, what made President Trump change his mind and this pause, what it really means? We'll look into it then.
As many Mexican Americans have suffered through discrimination, I have struggled through these issues and worked them through the music.
An award-winning singer from Mexico returns to the Bay Area for Dia de los Muertos. Why she says it is so important for people of all ages to join the celebration.
he drove through the barrier that we had out in reverse and then reversed towards the Coast Guard.
Gunfire at the scene of a protest against immigration enforcement in the East Bay. The shooting that has a number of agencies, including the FBI, investigating. We'll go live to the scene where the officers say someone weaponized a U-Haul truck, prompting them to open fire. Then immigrants across the Bay Area and beyond concerned about their futures and often curtailing their daily routines. Now some DACA beneficiaries are standing up for others who feel they have to hide from the Trump administration. How dreamers are taking action.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning. Welcome back. I'm Dacia Mikhailian.
I'm Andre Senior. It's Friday, February 24th. We've got some weather to talk about this morning. Let's go over to Steve Paulson right now, who's got the information about the wet weather that's moving in.
It's on its way tomorrow, mainly north at this time. But today it's a lot of cloud cover there. Low clouds, higher clouds are already moving into the north, so it won't take long to give us a mostly cloudy day. Had sunshine in the last couple of days, except for some low clouds. Now it's a lot of low and high clouds, a little bit of sun, but clouds are not, they're on their way here. Cloudy with rain, especially Saturday morning. And again, it looks like on Sunday afternoon, evening, 40s, 50s. Couple of breaks there, but not too many. We're kind of stuck here in the 50s, and that system will drag across clouds today, leading to cloudy skies tonight. The breeze will pick up. It'll be cooler on the weekend. Saturday morning, the rain, again, just right around San Francisco, San Pablo Bay, Vallejo North looks to be the main line. Much less to probably not much south. When the weather is fine, we'll get that low cloud deck, some sun, but a lot of high and mid-level clouds are scooting in here, and that'll give us a cloudy, mostly cloudy day, 60s, 70s. All right, Sal's here, 8:31. Any better at the Bay Bridge?
It's getting a little better, although it kind of ruined our Friday light for sure. We had a crash several hours ago, and it took a while for it to get out. And the traffic on the bridge was so bad they had to back up the metering lights, and it's still slow, although it is better than it was. Things are still backed up to about the maze, but things are rapidly improving. The other bridges have not had the same issue. San Mateo Bridge is light, and so is the Dumbarton Bridge. Highway 4 is
entrance to Coast Guard Island, Alameda.
And as we've been reporting all day yesterday, that location had been the scene of a day-long protest. KTV's Allie Rasmus live at the scene with another update for us this morning. Allie?
Well, the FBI is the lead agency investigating the shooting and what led up to it. And a block of the Embarcadero here in Oakland between Livingston and Denison is closed off and has been since the overnight hours into this morning. On Coast Guard Island Bridge and even the water around it, we've seen investigators throughout the morning piecing together evidence, gathering evidence as part of this investigation. We've even seen some Coast Guard and other law enforcement out on the estuary gathering evidence. This is all because of a shooting that happened here just after 10 o'clock last night. It came after a day-long demonstration and had wrapped up and only a handful of people remained. Someone driving a U-Haul truck started backing up into a row of Coast Guard police officers who'd been standing guard on the bridge last night. Coast Guard police shouted multiple times for the driver to stop. The Department of Homeland Security sent a statement to KTVU this morning confirming 2 people were struck by the gunfire. The driver of the U-Haul was shot in the stomach. He is being treated and held on a mental health hold. The second person, who was not in the vehicle but standing nearby when this happened, was struck by a piece of shrapnel. That person was treated at a local hospital and released. Now, a witness who was interviewed by police says that the man driving that U-Haul was not part of the protest earlier in the day and had arrived at the scene just about an hour before. He also stated that the driver revved his engine and continued to back up into the officers despite being told not to. So that is the latest information we have from the Department of Homeland Security. In the meantime, this stretch of the Embarcadero between Livingston and Denison is closed off to traffic. The FBI is expected to be out here for much of the day, continuing their work. Live in Oakland, Allie Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Thank you, Allie. Now to what appears to be a pause in the contentious back and forth between President Trump and San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie on the issue of immigration.
The president called off a large surge in the Bay Area right before it was set to start after a series of calls with the mayor and business leaders. KTVU's Amanda Quintana is there to explain. Amanda?
Well, President Trump had a handful of late-night calls Wednesday night that helped convince him to call off this immigration operation that was supposed to start here tomorrow. So we know that a team of federal agents, they arrived in Alameda at the Coast Guard base there yesterday to carry out this operation, but it was paused before it even began. A federal source told KTVU the agents were supposed to conduct an operation with pre-identified targets, which would have likely included going to Home Depots around the Bay Area looking for undocumented immigrants. We know some of those late-night calls were with San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie and a couple of people who Trump called his friends, Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff and AI tech company NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang.
Maybe you heard we were going to do a big surge in San Francisco, but I got a great call from some incredible people, some friends of mine, very successful people. Mark, everybody knows him, and Jensen, everybody knows Jensen, NVIDIA, and others called me from San Francisco, and they said, we're working really, really hard with the mayor. We're making progress. Would it be possible for you to hold off the surge? And I had 4 or 5 calls, and I think they're making progress of their own. That would be the greatest. I mean, if they could do that, that'd be great. And they have great competence in those people. I mean, incredible competence. Some of the smartest business leaders, and they're working very well with the police department. They're doing a good job. So we are holding off that surge, everybody, and we're going to let them see if they can do it.
I told him the same thing that I have told our residents. San Francisco is on the rise. Visitors are coming back. Buildings are getting leased and purchased, and workers are coming back to the office. We have work to do, and we would welcome the continued partnership with FBI, DEA, ATF, and U.S. attorneys to get drugs and drug dealers off of our streets. But having the military and militarized immigration enforcement in our city will hinder our recovery.
Lurie says San Francisco has seen a 30% drop in crime, and homicides are at a 70-year low. Governor Gavin Newsom and others, though, are skeptical about what this pause in the immigration operation really means. He's warning Californians to be wary, saying Trump only backed off after wealthy and powerful business leaders told him to. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt spoke directly to San Francisco, saying, quote, "Fail your citizens, the federal government may have to step in." She said the administration will continue to watch San Francisco. Lurie said he also talked to the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. He said that she agreed to continue to partner with local authorities to try to combat the fentanyl crisis they're having here in the city. He also said that she will hold drug traffickers accountable in this partnership that they will continue. Live in San Francisco, Amanda Quintana, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Amanda, thank you. Meantime, Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee says she has not heard from the Trump administration about a potential plan for her city. Mayor Lee sent a statement to KTVU saying, quote, "I will engage with anyone at any level of government to protect Oakland residents as long as it respects our community's values and constitutional rights." She goes on to say, quote, "We will continue monitoring the situation closely and stand ready to support our residents through every legal and appropriate means available." Mayor Lee held a press conference with other elected and public safety leaders at Oakland City Hall yesterday morning. The group urged people not to, quote, "take the bait by committing any acts of violence against federal officers."
We know that their expectation is that Oakland is going to do something to cause them to make us the example. That's not what we're doing.
The Oakland Police Department does not participate, assist, or enforce civil immigration matters. Our officers will not ask for anyone's immigration status.
Alameda County law enforcement leaders made a similar statement to OPD, saying the department would not cooperate with immigration authorities on civil matters. At 8:39, East Bay Latino community members prepping for a major gathering this weekend in Berkeley.
One steeped in tradition, reflection, and resilience.
Son canciones para bailar un poquito, pues. Así, aunque sea en su asiento, Para todos los que saben gozar.
The This weekend, Cal Performances hosts a Dia de los Muertos concert featuring Grammy-winning Mexican singer Lila Downs, seen by many as one of that country's most powerful cultural voices. She frequently draws on stories of struggle, strength, and identity for her music.
I remember when I was in my 20s, people would say, "Oh, why are you so interested in this music of the grandmothers," right? And I think it's a very important legacy for us in Latin America, not only in Mexico, to extend this knowledge to our children and our grandchildren and to be proud of who we are in our roots.
Downs says this weekend's concert comes at a time many Latinos and those in the immigrant community are struggling under the threat of enhanced immigration enforcement. She says it's a time to come together.
This is the moment for us to be very connected. Where I have been able to perform lately, I see that many people, not only in our Latino community, are really reaching out and showing their support. So, but also I think one of the important things is education about our rights.
The Dia de los Muertos concert is this Saturday evening at UC Berkeley Zeller Rock Hall. We'll put the full interview with Lila Downs and ticket information on our website in a minute here at KTVU.com.
8:41 your time. Concerns for DACA recipients amid that enhanced immigration enforcement. We'll speak with an attorney and legal advocate helping people deal with a tense situation. $8:44 now. Some of the stories we're following this morning. East Bay Congresswoman Latifah Simon is hosting a regional conference today to discuss the growing impact of the federal government shutdown. The Congresswoman will be meeting with the mayors of 7 East Bay cities, including Oakland, Berkeley, and Alameda. Congresswoman Simon says they will focus on what she says is the refusal of Senate and House Republicans to pass a bipartisan spending bill that dispute centers largely over funding for federal health care programs.
President Trump announced he is ending all trade negotiations with Canada. The president said on social media he made the decision because of a television ad running in the U.S. from the province of Ontario opposing the tariffs. He says the commercial is aimed at influencing the United States Supreme Court's decision on tariffs. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he is ready to speak with the president whenever Mr. Trump is ready. The two leaders are expected to see each other at the APEC summit in Asia next week. This morning, the Social Security Administration has released details on changes to payments for seniors next year. Social Security payments will increase by 2.8% in 2026. Works out to an average increase of about $56 a month. The cost of living adjustment was supposed to be announced last week, was delayed by the government shutdown. The adjustments are meant to keep pace with inflation. This morning, we're asking if you're counting on Social Security for retirement. Your options, yes, that is 45%. 46%, though, for those who say, yes, but it's not my only plan. 9% say you are not betting on any money from the Social Security Administration. You can weigh in and head to KTVU.com/vote to have your say.
Well, many DACA recipients have been stepping up to help advocate for others feeling the impact of the Trump administration's federal immigration enforcement, but they're also feeling uncertainty themselves. Kirsta Avila, attorney and legal director of Path to Papers, is here to dive into the issue with us. Kirsta, thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
So, Kirsta, first of all, tell us how DACA recipients are feeling about watching all of this unfold, even as they hang in limbo themselves.
Yeah, well, first of all, taking a step back, just understanding that these are people who came to the U.S. as children. They grew up here. They call this country their home. Many were brought by their parents with no fault of their own. They have lived here for most of their lives, and many of them have families themselves. So, of course, right now they're feeling the threat of this administration like everyone else. The government has promised to protect them from deportation. And what we're seeing today is the opposite of that.
Yeah, and you know, the administration moved recently to end temporary protective status for nationals of Afghanistan, Cameroon, Haiti, Honduras, Nepal, Nicaragua, Syria, and Venezuela. So does that concern DACA recipients about their future as well?
Yes, absolutely. This is a promise that was made a few administrations ago. We knew back then that this was a temporary solution, and sure enough, what we're seeing since then, it's caused constant threats of termination, and that's kind of where we're at right now. This administration has tried to get rid of this program, which ultimately will leave them in a vulnerable state of being arrested and ultimately at risk of deportation.
Yeah, Kirsta, you said it correctly there. This was meant to be a temporary solution during the Obama administration, but no movement has been made to improve the status and give DACA recipients a path to citizenship here. But I do want to say in late September here, the Justice Department said it would again begin processing applications for DACA, for first-time DACA applicants. Give me your thoughts about this recent move here by the Justice Department.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that came to a surprise to us, the fact that they're willing to reopen this program for so many people. Now we're just waiting to see what the judge says in that case. So far, the status quo remains, so they're not opening up new applications. But if that is the case and they do reopen them, I think it's a good step, but we have to remember this is not legal status, and the most important thing for this population to do is to speak with an immigration attorney and really understand if there are ways to seek lawful status, permanent status, and that's what my project does here in the Bay Area.
So what is a path that you would recommend to DACA recipient to get legal status in this country? Because as of right now, if you're a DACA recipient, as far as many of us know, you just sit in this weird limbo where you can work here. At least in most states, Texas is trying to, make it so you can't work in that state. But most other states, if you're a DACA recipient, you can work, you can own a home, these type of things, but you will always live in this limbo of not being able to have any kind of permanent status here in the United States.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So deferred action is just protection from deportation. You're not allowed to vote. You're not allowed to travel outside of the country unless you have permission. So the most important thing is to try to see if you're eligible for lawful status. And we have seen that, especially with this population, our project focuses on whether their employers can sponsor them for work visas that lead to lawful status. And we've seen about 81% being eligible for those.
So that is a possibility. What are some of the other possibilities for a DACA recipient to possibly get some sort of a legal status, a permanent legal status here in the country?
Yeah, outside of work visas, you also see family petitions. So some people can some family members, U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents can sponsor DACA recipients. We also know that there's humanitarian relief. But again, the most important thing is to really, like, you go to a doctor every so often for this population to do the same thing, especially right now with so many policies changing every day.
All right. Kirsten Avila, Legal Director of Path to Papers at Cornell Law School. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Time now, 8:50. We still have a lot of traffic out there, but things are improving. First of all, the San Mateo Bridge is very improved. I like that. But the Bay Bridge, finally, here we are, 10 minutes to 9. We're getting improvement, and that's because we had an earlier crash that really did slow traffic on the bridge for hours. The crash was hours ago. It actually cleared hours ago, and up until about 8:30, it was very slow. But finally now, if you're trying to get into San Francisco, now is the time to go. It's still a little crowded on the bridge, but if you can wait a little longer, it should be okay. 8:51, let's bring Steve back with today's weather.
A lot of clouds in those traffic shots there, Sal.
Yes, sir.
We do have a big fog bank out there, and the high clouds are already beginning to move into the north. We've been stuck mainly in the 50s all morning long. Santa Rosa's been stuck at 49, but elsewhere it's in the 50s here, mid-50s, isothermal is what we call it there. Higher clouds are already punching in. Now, the bulk of these, or most of these, are to the north. They'll be arriving later today and tonight. A lot of moisture swinging in, a lot of energy coming across. It looks like we're on the southern edge of it. And again, about Golden Gate Bridge, San Pablo Bay, Vallejo North looks to be the main focus. But I think north of Santa Rosa, Russian River North, there could be some pretty good totals here after everything's said and done. When the weather is fine, morning low clouds, 40s, 50s, and then a mix of low clouds, some sun, but increasing high clouds continue to march in here. 60s to low 70s.
Steve, thank you much. All right, 8:52 is your time. A new twist in tipping, and it could cost you more than you think. When you join us on the 9, we'll explain the digital loophole known as tipping Robin Hoods you should know about before your next coffee run. It is 6 minutes to 9. The Warriors are celebrating their thrilling overtime victory over the Denver Nuggets during opening night at San Francisco's Chase Center. Steph Curry hit a tying three-pointer late in regulation and scored 16 straight points for Golden State down the stretch in the Warriors' 137-131 victory. The Dubs' big win came despite a career night for San Jose native and Nugget star Aaron Gordon, who scored 50 points for Denver.
Championship type team like they are, a team that has a lot of continuity from year to year, and then you have a guy like that play the way he did, and for us to still win, like that says a lot about where we're at right now. But it also says we got a lot of work to do to, you know, keep doubling down on just finding a way to win no matter what the situation is.
The Warriors won their first 2 games of the new season, and excited members of Dub Nation had high hopes during the team's home opener.
We're going to make the playoffs. You know, it's just going to be electric in the building. You know, we got a great team. I think we're going to make the playoffs. It's going to be good.
We got Kuminga to come back. Let's see if he can prove what he was worth. I think he could do it, so I want to see what Jonathan Kuminga could do. I'm also excited to see Al Horford in a Warriors jersey.
Well, Golden State now goes on the road to face the Trailblazers in Portland tonight. Tip-off is 7 p.m.
The 49ers were back on the practice field yesterday preparing for this weekend's matchup with the Houston Texans. Brock Purdy practiced, still no word on whether he'll play Sunday. He says he is truly day-to-day. His backup, Mac Jones, has played well in helping the Niners stay at the top of their division. The team is also dealing with big injuries on defense. Defensive coordinator Robert Saleh says the next player needs to step up when someone gets injured.
This league is about opportunity. Like I said, you have your superstars, right? The ones who are, they're just different. You know, you do have the Bosas of the world and guys that transcend coaching, if you will. There's nothing you can say to those guys. They're just special. But then from there, you got this. The rest of the league to me is A to Z, and it's separated by a gap that's about that big.
The Niners are on the road Sunday at Energy Stadium in Houston. Kickoff 10 a.m. We can watch the game together right here on KTVU Fox 2. All
right, let's talk some baseball now. Tonight, the first game of the World Series begins. The Toronto Blue Jays will host the Los Angeles Dodgers. The preparations are underway right now as the Blue Jays are returning to baseball's biggest stage for the first time in 30 years. This is a live look at Rogers Center in Toronto right now, where the game is going to be kicking off in just a few hours from now. Los Angeles enters the contest as the favorite here and will be looking to win back-to-back titles. However, the Dodgers will be without pitcher Alex Vesia. Team officials say he won't play tonight to deal with a personal family matter. Now, KTVU and Fox will show every pitch of the World Series. Pre-game coverage on KTVU starts at 3 p.m. with Fox coverage starting at 4 and first pitch at 5. All the news and weather can be seen on KTVU Plus and the Fox mobile app for your smart TV and mobile devices.
The San Jose Sharks have finally won their first game of the season, 6 games in. Macklin Celebrini exploded for a second career hat trick in a 5-point night against the New York Rangers. Celebrini cemented the thrilling victory when he set up Will Smith for the game-winning goal. Sharks beat the Rangers 6-5 to snap that 6-game losing streak. The team plays again tonight, facing the New Jersey Devils for the third match of a 4-game trip. New this morning, new poll finds President Trump's approval rating among Hispanic voters has dropped since the beginning of the year. The AP survey conducted earlier this month found 35% of Hispanic voters have a favorable view of President Trump. That's down from 44% from a poll taken just before he was sworn into office for a second term in January. The survey found many Hispanic voters say they think President Trump has not followed through on his promise to improve the U.S. economy.
Foreign citizens already in the U.S. will be exempt from the Trump administration's new $100,000 fee for H-1B visas. The federal government says the fee, which is paid for by U.S. employers, would only apply to new H-1B visas issued to workers who are outside the country, and it would not be imposed on workers switching to an H-1B visa from other visas. That exemption would also include students. President Trump announced the fee last month, but hadn't provided certain details at the time. We'll be right back. Mornings on 2. The night starts in just 60 seconds from now. Stay with us.